Hello FlossTube, my name is Leann and I am leann.stitches here on YouTube and on Instagram. You can also find me as Forbidden Fiber Co on Instagram and Facebook. Today is Monday, November 17th, and this is my 57th FlossTube. It's going to be a really short one today. I only had about 4 stitching days this week just because work was hectic and I was at the Alabama Fiberfest Thursday through Saturday. So I really only stitched Monday, Tuesday, a little bit on Wednesday and Sunday. And I have no knitting to show you. And I only read one book this week, if you can believe it. And I will talk about all of that and more over the next few minutes. It really, it's gonna be a short one today. First up, as always, is Marvel Heroes. I bought this project on Etsy from Popular Cross Stitch, which is no longer open on Etsy. So I'm not really sure if you can still get the pattern. I will put what it's supposed to look like up there. And here is where I'm at. I did 301 stitches on this, and I tried to do a little bit extra every day that I did stitch because I knew I was going to be out of town. So I came about 50 stitches short of my weekly goal, which actually isn't terrible. And I was stitching in here pretty much exclusively. And last week I wasn't sure if this was Punisher, if Punisher was down here, and this is Punisher. And I have been stitching in a 10 by 10 block, 2 row, well, so 10 by 20 across from left to right in a modified typewriter method. But since I made it to Punisher and he's my husband's favorite, I'm thinking about stitching all of him. Sorry, a phone call came through and it distracted me. So that's my plan for this week. We'll see if I do it or if my OCD can't handle it and I have to keep stitching in rows. I am at 74.96%. And if I had known I was that close to 75%, I would have kept stitching last night. So I will hit 75% tonight, and that's very exciting. The next project I have to show you is Sleigh Ride by Praiseworthy Stitches. And I started this with my friends Sarah from Memphis Sarah E and Zan from Crazy Band Lady Stitches. And the idea was to start it December 1st of last year. We split it into 13 parts and we were gonna stitch 1 part every month for a December 2025 finish. I have stitched it in parts, but not on time. So I've kind of thrown all that out the window and I stitch on it 30 minutes a day after I finish my Marvel stitches. And I got 3 days worth of stitching on this last week. So not a lot, but I got the house started. I finished the snow, which is what I was working on last time. I think it was in here. And I remembered to do that. The back stitching that needed to be done on the lamp, but I forgot the bow. It's supposed to have one of these bows. So I still need to go back and do that. But then I started outlining the house because I have an extra stitch in here somewhere, or no, I'm short a stitch in here somewhere. So I wanted to start on the house to make sure I had enough room. And so I've been also working on this tree because I am short 1 stitch in this space for the house. And so my plan is to stitch this tree and then stitch the house around it so that everything fits, if that makes sense. You'll see it better as I implement my plan. I'm stitching this 1/2 on a 36 count Silent Night by Forbidden Fiber Co. using a mishmash of called for flosses and my own conversion to stash. The next piece I have to show you is Parliament of Owls by Kathy Barrick. This is on my fall rotation. So Monday and Tuesday, I spin a wheel and there's 4 fall projects on that wheel. And Monday I chose this one, or I guess the wheel chose this one. And I spent 30 minutes stitching, and I don't think you're gonna be able to see my progress, but I stitched in here on like an ecru kind of floss. It's actually like called light mocha or something like that. So I don't really think you can see it, but I swear I stitched 126 stitches and they're there. I really, really promise they're there. So yeah. I'm stitching this 1/2 on a 40 count granite by Forbidden Fiber Co. using the called for DMC threads. The next piece I have to show you is Nevermore by Lila Studio. Let me see if I can get that without glare. And yeah, Nevermore by Lila Studio. Sorry, my brain is not working today. I'm stitching this 2/2 on a 32 count Morning Mist by Forbidden Fiber Co. using a conversion pack that we sell in the online shop. And I worked in here, just kind of bringing that border across. And I recently pulled this into Pattern Keeper so I can count my stitches and keep track because it's a pretty dense project. And I realized that I am short on floss because I kitted this up as if I were stitching like the model stitched, and I am not. So I am going to have to dive into my stash and see if I can find some matching dye lots. I'm not too worried about most of them. It's the Raven and the this teal color that I'm worried the most about, but I think it'll be fine. The rest of them, I'm not worried about dye lots matching. I stitched 113 stitches on this on Tuesday, and I'm at 14.76%. The next piece I have to show you is Autumn Montage by Janet Stever. It was charted by Paine Free Crafts, and it is now retired. I normally stitch on this project Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I rotate between Autumn Montage and Autumn Bookshop as part of my fall rotation. However, since I was at the Alabama Fiberfest on Friday and Saturday, I only stitched on this one night, which was Sunday night, and I tried to maximize, that's the right way. If you're new here, I have a penchant for holding my projects, you know, sideways, upside down, backwards. So just checking myself. So I was trying to maximize my stitches. So I picked a green and I kind of stitched in here. And then I don't remember the other color I stitched was a light gold, but I don't remember where I stitched it. So that's not much help. However, I did stitch 205 10 stitches and I am at 2.4% complete. I'm stitching this 2/110 stitch on a 28 count easy guide. Okay, so after my fall stitching rotation, I then have 2 wheels that I spin to spend the rest of my evening stitching. One is a basically like a year-round. It doesn't really have a season to it. What I call a focus on a finish. Things that I think I can get finished over the next few years, or things that are gifts that I want to get finished over the next few years. And then I have a BAP wheel, which are projects that are just for me, just for fun, that I may never finish, but I'm having fun stitching. So the first wheel I stitched was the finisher one, and I got the Moons of 2022 by Barrick. And I'm actually fairly close to finishing this. It could be a contender for a finish next year if I put some time into it. Would be like that. And then let me do a close-up. Basically, I stitched these 2 flowers. So I have to finish the border, and then I have that big chunk up top, which isn't hard stitching. It's just very, very dense. It's full coverage. So I really think, like I said, this could be a contender for a finish next year, which would be really exciting. I love this project. I'm stitching 2/2 on a mystery 32 count even weave. It's when I was learning how to dye. So there's no color name. It's probably closest to Vanilla Cream in the shop. The next piece I have to show you is the Hobbiton. I don't remember the name of the Etsy shop I bought this from, but I did start it with Leann from Small Town Stitches and a few other women, and I cannot remember who. I think I wrote it all down in my notes though, and if I did, I will put it in the description box. There are several of us stitching on it though. And there's where I'm at. I stitched in this area here, and I put in some of this and this tealish turquoise color. I have noticed over the years that because of I think because of what I do, and I deal with color and different shades of color all day long, I see color very differently than most people. So I would call that turquoise. You might also call it aqua. I don't know. It's a pretty blue, and it's the sky. I stitched 584 tent stitches. I'm stitching 2 over 1 tent stitch on a 28 count easy guide for this. And I am at 1.17%. The last piece I have to show you is Anna and Elsa by Aurora CS. She has since closed that shop, and she's now going by Mama Piggy X Stitch, I think, on Instagram. I'm not really sure where her shop is located, but she has popped up a lot of her older patterns on there, and she's also revamping them into different styles, which is pretty fun to watch on Instagram. I am stitching this for my daughter. She's 9, and I would really like to get it done before she outgrows it. She's still pretty into Frozen and Disney movies. She's more into the Descendants and what's the other one? Vampires. I don't know. Those Disney shows. I'm blanking on that because my brain just is not functioning today. So I stitched on this last night, and I stitched 325 stitches, and I worked in her hair and on her skin. I was working over here trying to bring this up to the same level as Anna, because I started on Anna and then I went into Elsa, but I got really tired of all those blues. So I think I finished this and worked in some of her hair and then did her skin, I think is the strategy I used. And then probably when I get Anna's face done a little bit more, I'll go back over to Elsa, and then I'll go in and I'll stitch the black to fill it all in. I can't remember if I know I said I stitched 325 stitches on that, but I am now at 33.27%. So almost a third of the way there. Like I said earlier, I really don't have any knitting to show you. I did work a little bit on my Sherlock shawl, but really not enough to show. I've got a couple of garter stitch rows left, and then a bind off, and I'm done, and I will show it to you when I'm done. And then I'm going to go back to my test knit of the Avenue pullover, and I am going to try to whip that out as fast as possible because I think the test knit is due in about 2.5 weeks. So I will definitely be knitting a lot over Thanksgiving break. Books, believe it or not, I only finished 1 book last week. It was a good one though. It was Newton and Polly by Jody Headland, and I actually just thought it was so-so. It's the story of this boy Newton. He's a young man, maybe 18 to 21-ish, maybe a little bit older than that, and he's kind of directionless. This takes place in the 1800s, I think. He's kind of directionless, and he doesn't believe in God, and just kind of does what he wants. And his dad is a accomplished shipper, like literally on a ship, like commerce via ships. I don't know the right way to say that. And his dad keeps trying to get him jobs, but he keeps just leaving the ships and going and doing whatever he wants. And he meets Polly, who is younger. In the story, she is 18 or 19, maybe 16, and they fall madly in love. But like I said, he's aimless. He actually is forced to join the military, and he goes on leave, and he's only supposed to have 1 day leave, and he goes to see her and ends up staying a week. So then he actually gets whipped for going AWOL. And so her dad is like, no, this is not the guy for you. He needs to show more responsibility. I need you with someone who's going to take care of you. And so they are separated for a long time. And I'm not going to tell the rest of the story. I think I told enough. But needless to say, I just thought it was so-so. It kept me bopping along when I was dyeing all the things before I left for my show. But when I listened to the author's note, I was like, wow. It just made the story so much more, because Newton, John Newton is his name, is the guy who wrote Amazing Grace. And it's their true story. And there were some things in there because I guess Polly was actually only 13 when they met. And so she aged her up a little bit to make the story feel more relatable. But once I heard that, and Amazing Grace is one of my favorite songs, especially the newer version, Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone. Like, I can just sit and cry when that song comes on. And so that made it a much more powerful and a much more impactful book for me. So anyway, that's the only book I finished. I'm in the middle of Edge of Collapse or Chaos. It's the second book in that series that I've been reading, where last week I told you about the prequel, where the first book centers on Hannah, who has been kidnapped, and she's 9 months pregnant by the person who kidnapped her. And there's an EMP, and she escapes, and she meets Liam, who's ex-military, and they're going off through the woods in Michigan in the middle of winter trying to escape, and her kidnapper is following her. And then the prequel that I talked about last year was Liam's pre-story about what he was doing and where he was when the EMP hit. And it was just a devastating story, but so good. And then this officially second novel in the series is about Hannah's husband and son and where they were when the EMP hit. And so it's really good. I'm enjoying it. I listened to it while I was driving home from Birmingham last Saturday night, and it kept me awake, which is always good when you're driving home in the dark in a U-Haul van full of yarn. So yeah, so I will talk more about that next week, because I imagine I will finish it this week. So that is it for book talk and shop updates / life updates. Like I've said probably 5 times already, I was in Birmingham at the Alabama Fiberfest Thursday through Saturday. Setup day was Thursday. My husband came down with me and helped me set up, because it is an outdoor show and we had to put up a pop-up tent, and they are hard. And I was sore for 2 days after we put up that tent, and I'm sure my husband did the bulk of the work, but it was amazing. I saw a lot of familiar faces of people that I had seen at SAF or Nash Yarn Fest. So that was really fun. Friday was great. This is the second year for the Alabama Fiberfest, and last year it was Saturday only, and I didn't go. I went this year because some friends of mine had told me that I should go, that it was a really fun show. And so Friday was kind of like a bonus day, and it was a lot of fun. It was slower, and it was like mostly local people, which I did not realize Birmingham had such like a vibrant fiber scene. And then Saturday was just nonstop. I was there by myself. My husband had to leave and go to Jackson, Tennessee, where our daughter was singing in honor choir for the state. And I was really sad to miss it. So sad to miss it, but I'm really glad that he got to go. A good friend of ours took her with them to the rehearsals and all of that. And she stayed in a hotel room with this friend and her daughter that's in the same grade. And then my husband went out Saturday for the actual performance. And so I was by myself, and it was windy, and the wind kept trying to blow my tent away. And so, but there were so many people. Thankfully, if you were there and helped me hold my tent down when the wind gusts came, or helped me grab cinder blocks to try to hold my tent down, thank you so much. Thank you. I was terrified. I may have cried a little bit. And I was basically sitting there with one hand and my phone, because my point of sale system wouldn't connect to the internet. So I was checking everybody out on my phone and trying to tap cards, and it wasn't working. So I was punching in credit card numbers, and the wind gusts would come, and I'd be like arm in the air trying to hold my tent while I'm trying to like type in numbers on the phone to process credit cards and get people on their way. And it was just terrifying. And I sat there at one point with one arm in the air, punching numbers on my phone, just, God, please make this wind stop. You're the only one who can help me right now. Please make this wind stop. Please help me. And the wind did not stop. However, there was a group of ladies that came not long after that from Nashville that I had met before, and they were hilarious, and they distracted me, and my heart finally began to calm down. And I was good after that. And the wind did eventually calm down, and it was good after that. So thank you to everyone who helped me through that terrifying time. I really had images in my head of the tent flying off and grid wall falling down, because if you remember, my grid wall fell on me in Dallas, and I think I have a little PTSD from that, because anytime anything happens, I freak out. That is my kids coming home. So I'm going to pause real fast. Okay. Okay, it's going to be noisy and there's nothing I can do about it, but let's try to get through this. In the shop right now, we have Phantom of the Opera kits. We have a yarn kit and a cross stitch kit celebrating the 100th anniversary of Phantom of the Opera from when it was adapted into a silent film for the first time, because the original story was a novel, maybe 20 years before that, 1909, I think. And anyway, when I was in 6th grade or so, I'm looking up there to see if I can find the book. I don't see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there. When I was in 6th grade or so, I was in choir. No, I cannot sing for the life of me. If you asked me to sing to save my life, I would die. But I was in choir somehow, and we took a trip to San Diego, I think. It could have been LA, but probably San Diego, to see Phantom of the Opera, and I fell in love with it. And so when I found out this year was the 100th anniversary, I thought, well, we have to do a kit. And so I designed a cross-stitch pattern. I made a yarn colorway. I tried to do a set of yarn, but it wasn't coming out the way I liked, and I did not have time to make something that I was proud of, a collection that I was proud of before I left, nor did I have time to take pictures of it. So we're doing a mystery yarn kit with just with the one color from that collection that I dyed that I actually liked. And this way you get the yarn color, you get a project back, you get a little progress keeper, and that sort of thing. So those are in the shop right now. They will be shipping after Thanksgiving, probably just before Christmas. This week for yarn, while I was out in Alabama, I got an idea for a little Christmas yarn set. I haven't gone to the studio yet to put dye to yarn, so I can't tell you if it's going to come out the way I see it in my head, but if it does, that's going to be in the shop this Friday. It's the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow when I get in, is like get my ideas down on paper and onto the yarn. If it comes out the way I want, we'll have full skeins, we'll have mini skein sets, and possibly a sock set if the variegated colorway that I want to make comes out. Fingers crossed, we'll see. And then it's also the 30th anniversary of Toy Story. So I tried to get excited about making Toy Story yarn, but all of my ideas just fell flat. I just couldn't make it happen. And I had this other Christmas yarn idea. So we're going to do a cross stitch kit, but we will not be doing Toy Story inspired yarn. That is this Friday's shop update. And then next week we are closed for Thanksgiving. We always close the whole week of Thanksgiving. All of our kids are off of school, and it just makes it easier. And by the time we get all of the Advent boxes out, we really, really, really need the break. So we'll be closed for the week of Thanksgiving. We do have some Black Friday sales that will be going on for the whole weekend. And then the studio will be open the weekend after Thanksgiving. I, however, will not be there because now that my fall fiber festivals are over, my husband and I are finally going on a trip for our 20th anniversary. And so we will be gone. And the ladies of the studio will be getting all of your orders out and doing all of the things while my husband and I are in Florida. So that is all I have for you today. And thank you for watching. And I hope you're having a great week, and I will see you all back here, hopefully, next Monday. Bye.